Thanks for joining us. I'm with Emily Fournier. Is it Fournier or Fournier is the question?
Fournier.
Fournier. I'm Matt Sanderson. I'm one of the founders of Strike, and we're going to be going through the investor playbook, the 10 steps to go from start to finish to finding, identifying, evaluating, and getting your next profitable short-term rental launched. And so, Emily, you're going to be the guinea pig today. You're actually trying to do this right now. You have not bought your first one. And so we're going to be going through this 10 steps together with you. And hopefully at the end of this, we actually find one that you love. And, depending on your capital situation, whether you buy it on your own or you bring in a capital partner, let's let 2026 be the year that it happens.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Without further ado, I will share my screen and then we will go through this 10 steps together. So let me know when you can see this here.
I can see it.
Okay. So if you're on the squad, we're having a live training right here. So you can just click in and join. It's also in the calendar section here where you can join the school link. And so again, what we're going to be doing is going through this 10-step playbook right here. And you can see all the different steps and, just the written information on this to start going through on your own. In the meantime, we're going to be doing video recordings on this. So we are starting here at the beginning of, hey, why should you even consider this in the first place? And what is most important to you and your why? So before jumping in, I'll give a little high level and then we'll dive into it with Emily specifically. So for me, again, many of y'all have heard my story. In 2020, I'll never forget, I was like working out in the gym and my wife and I were under contract for a property in Houston, and we wanted to buy our dream house, and it was going to cost a lot of money because we needed to renovate it, all this stuff, and it was going to like totally wipe us out cash wise. And I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, what am I doing? Everything in Rich Dad Poor Dad is saying buy assets that produce cash flow, not liabilities that don't produce any cash flow. And a house is kind of one of those quasi assets where, or your personal house, because it's still kind of building wealth, but it doesn't really produce cash flow and it sucks money from you. So my wife and I were like, well, I went and pitched her the idea while she was 38 weeks pregnant. I was like, hey, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think we should pull the contract from this property. What do you think? She's like, well, I'm ready to move out of this townhouse, blah, blah. And I'm like, babe, but trust me, trust this book that I'm reading. If we buy these assets that produce cash flow, then I think it'll snowball effect and help us get out of this 9-to-5 grind. So sure enough, we found one in Fredericksburg, Texas, and we ended up buying the property. It turned out to be a 60% cash on cash return. Here's more details on that. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions we ever made. And now fast forward, we've got 5 profitable short-term rentals in 5 different markets. And we started from like nothing. Like I'm just a normal dude. And now we have 5 properties. And real estate investing is one of the best legacy investments you can ever make, because real estate historically just goes up over time. And if you pay down the debt or let renters pay down the debt over time, then you're eventually over 10, 20, 30 years going to have all these assets making tons of money and that are worth a ton of money. And so there's a quote that I love that I think it's important. And it says, cash flow will make you rich, but appreciation will make you wealthy. So the point of all this is like, there's arbitrage out there, rental arbitrage, and there's actually a home ownership. Rental arbitrage is okay because you get cash flow if you can find it. But again, that will make you rich or kind of make some cash flow. But what will actually make you wealthy is ownership, owning assets, hopefully that produce cash flow, but assets that appreciate over time and that get paid down. And that's where real wealth is created. So anyway, that's what I want to start with on this is, if you understand that, then everything else will follow, because you're going to be super motivated to want to buy these things of like, oh, I should own this versus stocks and all this other stuff, which aren't bad. But in my opinion, I'm very biased. Real estate is like the greatest of all time. So any questions on that before we dive into more?
No. I might we can edit this out, but Will is screaming his head off in his bassinet right now. Bad timing, sorry.
You go grab them. Hey, this is real life. Um, okay, so now we're gonna dive into the why, and when Emily comes back, we'll ask her more about hers. So now that you know why you should consider short-term rentals in the first place, or you already know, now you need to start with your own personal why, because if you miss that, I mean, you may miss everything else because you may buy the wrong property that doesn't hit what you're really trying to go for. So on the why, there's really a couple things to think about here. Most people buy for four reasons. Either one, they want enough cash flow to supplement their life. Um, just different cash flow reasons to get out of the 9 to 5 grind. They either want tax write-offs, they either want to build wealth over time through appreciation and debt pay down, or they want a property to create memories with family where you and Will can go hang out at a
Yeah.
beach house and enjoy it together. Or they want a combination of those. And so that's really the first thing you need to think about in your mind is those four things and ranking them in order of importance. But the other thing is, most people that I've met, other than the tax write offs, really want to create financial freedom for themselves. And so if you think about financial freedom, there's really three stages of that. And stage one is basically having enough cash flow to support your lifestyle and cover your expenses. So your mortgage, your grocery bill, whatever that is. So that's stage one. Stage two is basically covering your expenses plus having a little extra to like go travel and have fun and do the things you really enjoy to do. And stage three is like crazy freedom, where it's like you just have tons of money. You don't really care because it just covers everything and you can
Yeah.
give a lot. You can do whatever you need to. And so there's some fun worksheets in here where, Emily, this would be fun for you to go through of like, hey, stage
Yeah.
one, like, what are your current expenses and what does that add up to? So that would be the first goal for you is how can I buy some of these assets to cover my monthly expenses here? Stage two, like what would that look like on a monthly basis? 10,000, 20,000 per month, 30,000 per month. What does that look like? Stage three, true freedom, like where you can do some crazy stuff, give a lot, philanthropy, all that stuff. What does that look like? 50 grand a month. Um, and everyone's is going to be different. So then once you know stage one, say that's $10,000 per month.
Yeah.
Now you come down here and you just reverse engineer it and you say, okay, well, if I want 10,000 a month in net cash flow to supplement my life, well, how many properties do I need to actually get there? And so this will actually help you think through, these short-term rental properties can oftentimes generate at least $1,000 a month in net cash flow,
Mhm.
to $5,000 a month in cash flow, and sometimes $10,000 a month in cash flow or more,
Yeah.
but depending on your budget.
Right.
So, you know, obviously, if you can have one property or two properties that solves that, that's better than 5 to 10
Right.
properties that
Right.
solve. So,
Much
this is
easier.
just some, yeah, fun math for you to look at and think about for your current situation. So, here's an example for me. So, like my college station house that we bought, we jumped on strike and found it in a couple minutes, went under contract, closed in 30 days, and then used summer lead to really deck it out. And this one makes about $4,000 a month in net cash flow, like true net cash flow.
Mhm.
So if my goal is 10,000 bucks, I'm like almost halfway there with that one property. So it'd basically be about three properties, kind of like this, to basically cover my stage one financial freedom
Right.
lifestyle. So that was me. And before we go on to anything else, Emily, what about you? Would love to hear your thoughts since you're going to be going through this process together.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what would be your number for stage one that you would ideally like to solve for?
Um, like how much would I need per month?
Yes. So, like, if we're thinking about housing, utilities, food,
Oh
like,
gosh, my
in
husband does all this.
if you had
um,
to estimate, what would you say?
um, gosh, maybe 5,000, 6,000, seven
Okay.
thousand. I don't know. I truly do not know. So I should figure that out. Um,
Yes, your homework, go talk to Brady
yeah.
about this and come up with a number, and that
Okay.
number will be the basis that we use for next week when we come back to look at creating your buy box and then learning how to underwrite and all that stuff.
Okay.
So let's do that. And then, okay, so your homework is that we'll come back next week on that. But the second thing is those 4 questions I asked, I need to add those to this as well. Cash flow, tax write offs, wealth building, memories. How
Mhm.
would you and Brady rank those personally?
I would say, probably cash flow number 1 and tax write-offs number 2. Um, what was there were 2 others.
Wealth building.
Mm,
So just outside of like the stock market or 401k or
right.
whatever. And then there is memories.
Yeah. I would say in that order, wealth building and then memories.
Okay, so cash flow, tax, wealth, memories. So
Yeah,
memories is good to have if you can, but
yeah,
really cash flow is probably the most important and tax
correct.
write-offs.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that'll be even more important of like truly understanding this number. So
Mhm.
then cash flow is most important. We can think about, okay, what is the perfect recipe for one of these properties based on your budget and goals to get to this number so that you can truly get
Right.
to this phase one of, covering your basics with one of these assets out
Yeah.
there.
Hey, I found it. I remembered we have an app, $6,000.
Okay, $6,000.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, check this out. This College Station House, what does that say?
Mhm.
4,000.
Yeah,
So it's possible. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So there's 6,000 is your number. What I think you should look at is um, probably having 2 properties that cash flow $3,000 a month in cash flow or more, and that will solve your stage 1 life stage.
Sweet.
It's that easy. No, playing.
Done.
So now, okay, so that's kind of the part 1 of all this, and maybe just to tease a little bit for creating your buy box. That's where we're going to get into like purchase price and all that. More homework for you will be, okay, now that you've identified $6,000 as like your core first target in cash
Mhm.
flow, now how much cash do you have available, you and Brady combined?
Right.
And how much other cash could you have available through like a 401k or even capital partners? So, like, as an example, I pulled out for this College Station House $50,000 from my 401k because I took a
Mm,
loan against it. And so I
gotcha.
was able to like borrow against my own assets to go buy a house.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's one thing you could do if you do have a 401k, like with
Mhm.
Fidelity as an example. You just have to call them
Right,
and make sure that they approve that.
right. 'Kay.
Um, so yeah, think about how much cash you might have available. And now if you're constricted on cash, then that's where we'll want to discuss some creative options of how to bring in capital partners. But the
Mhm.
same process will apply of finding the deal. And then, it's just, can you do it on your own or do you need to
Right,
bring in a capital partner?
right, right.
So, and then if you bring in a capital partner, you're probably going to split the cash flow with them 50-50. So if that property produces 3 grand in cash flow per month, realistically, it'll be $1,500 for y'all each to be thinking
Gotcha.
about. So,
'Kay.
but we can save that for next week as we get into buy box and after you and Brady do a little bit of homework together.
Yeah.
Um, One final thing I'll show you is like a fun teaser for the community. We built this STR tax savings calculator recently, which we may pull into Strike as an easy software to have on your phone or computer. In the meantime, it's just a nice spreadsheet. But let's just say you and Brady bought I don't know, a $500,000 house, and you put in 25,000 for furniture or improvements, and say your tax bracket is like this 32 or even 24%, somewhere in there. Let's say 24. Um, this is what you could expect in tax savings that you could get basically 30 to 50 grand back in tax savings. So if you and Brady are
Wow.
like giving the government money each year through like
Mhm.
your W-2 or whatever,
Right.
you could basically get a refund for like 30 to $50,000 that year, if you were to go buy one. So that's a powerful statement, and honestly, why a
Yeah.
lot of people are coming to me is like, I mean, if you can literally get that back in a tax refund, like, why would you not buy a property?
Right. Right.
So, anyway, this
Really. I
link
haven't played with that yet, but maybe tonight, Brady and I'll sit down and look at that.
yeah, and I shared this in the community too, right here for anyone
Yeah.
to look at, and go check out. You just have to go create a copy and can look at it on your own. So there we go. There's part 1 of the 10-step
Yeah.
journey we're gonna be going together, and, this will be a fun thing to go through and see if we can
Yeah.
actually find a profitable deal that maybe you go buy.
Go buy this year. Absolutely.
So, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.